Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Which is the Moon. It is your Monday hostess, Natalie, and this is week 20. Week 20, which means that we are coming down to the end of season 10, believe it or not. And this week's topic is what makes me a witch. Now, for those of you that like to notice everything going on, I do have some dragon's blood burning today, so that's what you're seeing. It's not wisps or ghosts or anything, it's just the incense burning. So this week's topic again is what makes me a witch. Now, I approach this topic a little differently than some of other people that I've seen. Some people believe that witchcraft is a religion. Some people believe witchcraft is not a religion. In my opinion, it is a religion, but let me define religion for you in Natalie's context, because you need to have my frame of reference to understand what I mean by that term. Religion does not necessarily mean worshiping a specific god or goddess, because I do know some who do not do that. They're atheists. They don't think that there's any such thing as a god or a goddess or a creator or anything like that. I personally do. But for me, the term religion means those underlying core values and principles that guide your everyday actions. In other words, your moral compass. That's your religion. So if your practice of the craft goes along the lines of you practice daily and the principles of the craft in terms of taking responsibility for your actions, engaging in practices that involve the earth, air, fire, and water, the elementals, to forward your life in such a way that you see success, happiness, and what have you, then that is your religion. So for me, witchcraft is a religion. I think certain political paths become people's religion because that's what guides their life. Okay, so that's my definition of religion. So in my opinion, witchcraft is very much a religion. It doesn't necessarily worship a deity, but it is a religion. Now, that being said, what makes you a witch? And my simple answer to that question is, it's your heart. It's what lies inside of you that empowers you to engage in magical acts. Now, there are a lot of people who are not part of the witching community that don't understand the term magic correctly. They see magic as sleight of hand. How do they always freaking know? Pardon me one moment. Okay, sorry for that interruption. I have to stop now and think about where I was in the conversation. So what makes me a witch? Well, first of all, I was talking about magical principles and how there is an ill-defined definition of magic for people who are not in the community. Magic simply refers to the manipulation and use of energies that exist around you in the everyday environment in order to affect a specific response. So it's not like Doug Henning, and what's his name? I can't even think of his name now, but I can sure see his face. My father's a professional magician and has been for many, many years. But there's a very big difference between sleight of hand and M-A-G-I-C and M-A-G-I-C-K, okay? So we need to define those terms because you have to have a clear frame of reference in order to understand what we're talking about in the craft. And I think a lot of people, they close their minds to it. They don't want to hear it. What makes you a witch is your active engagement in the practice of magic, whether it be through the use of tools, your mind, your personal energy, pointing your finger, I hope you get chickenpox, that kind of thing. That is what makes you a witch. Your idea and your philosophy on the use of magic to affect the results you want to see in your life or in the lives of other people that you may be doing workings for. That to me is what makes you a witch. I think a lot of times people are witches and don't even realize that they are. My husband is a perfect example of this. The man is so freaking highly intuitive, it's disgusting. If you've been watching our videos for a while, you know he has this habit of calling me in the middle of a video. always seems to know when I'm in the middle of recording a video, and he will interrupt me every time. Daughter's the same way, obviously. And she's also a medium. She's in denial, but I know for a fact that she sees and hears spirits that they communicate to her, because she can't sleep at night. She sleeps with the TV on or the lights on, and she won't discuss why. So her grandmother was the same way, my mother-in-law. But in any case, that's what makes you a witch. So the active engagement in the practice of manipulation of energies around you to affect a specific response. Now, does being a witch make you special? Not really, because my view is that we all come from divine source. Okay, we all come from the same place. We are, I heard it described this way, individuated expressions of the divine. Okay, that's what your soul is, supposedly. So that means that everybody has this capability, and I do believe that. I think everybody on this planet, we are all interconnected through a psychic link in the astral plane, and that we have the ability to manipulate these energies, every single one of us. Now, some of us close our minds out to that. We learn things, or we're taught certain things in youth, and we close our minds to that capability. And it's only when it calls to you and you open yourself back up to that path to the divine that you are able to engage and use it appropriately. Now, a lot of people argue, well, you can't do magic if you don't have this specific tool, and you can't do magic if you don't have this specific tool, or if you're using this herb, and there's certain ways you have to use certain things. And that may be true in some respects in terms of traditional practice of the craft, okay? So if you follow a tradition, for example, if you're part of the Ash, Birch, and Willow, which was Raven Gramassi's group, or if you're part of the Temple of Witchcraft with Christopher Pinchik, those particular trainings in the craft, if you follow their principles, you follow their principles. That's fine. Not everybody does. That doesn't make you any more or less of a witch than any of those people, okay? And I think it's very important to understand that, because I think some people think that if they're not part of a group that they can't be witches. Clearly, there's a lot of us who are solitary practitioners. I don't gel well with a large group, okay? People just don't like me. That's fine. I'm okay with that most of the time. Sometimes it bothers me. But the fact is, I've just never gelled well in a large group of people. So I will probably never practice in a company or in a formal tradition of that nature, unless it's something I can study online, which I do think Christopher Pinchik offers his online, and I'm pretty sure Ash, Birch, and Willow does too. But in any case, the point being, you can follow those principles, but that doesn't make you any more or less of a witch than somebody who doesn't, okay? It also does not make you a witch if you've read every book on witchcraft and you kind of dabble in it, but you don't practice it. For me, what makes you a witch is that daily engagement. Everything you do is magic, okay? It's in everything you do. When you cook, you're doing something. You're actively engaging those herbs for a specific purpose. And I do this when I'm cooking. For example, well, let me tell you this. We have a dog who's very elderly. 2 of them, actually. And I will give her cinnamon and ginger in her food. One, because she stopped eating and she wouldn't eat it at all. So I mix it with goat milk and I put a little bit of cinnamon and sugar in there. But also because cinnamon and sugar are okay for dogs to have. And they are 2 spices or herbs that I know will help with inflammation and ease joint pain. So it also helps improve circulation. Okay, so as I'm adding those things to her food, I speak to it that this is why I'm engaging this particular thing. That activates the magic within the herb, or the energies within the herb for that purpose. When I cook dinner for my family and I'm utilizing certain spices and herbs, I will speak into the herb and into the food that I'm activating it. That is casting a spell. That is engaging actively in the practice of manipulating those energies for the purpose of affecting a specific response. Okay, so even if you just, point at somebody and go, I hope you have a really good day, or I hope that, you get stopped by a cop. That's casting. Whether it's effective or not, depends on a lot of factors, okay? And I'm not going to go into a big deal about how effective is your witchcraft, because there's a lot of factors that go into how effective is your witchcraft. And some of that has to do with that person's personal protections, or the protections someone has placed around that person. And I don't think that one religion's protections are better than another's. So, for example, my mother-in-law was very, 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 very Catholic. And she would often pray, or, which, by the way, is a form of spell casting, to protect someone, you know, and she would sit down and do a little mark of the cross on your forehead and all that. That is casting a spell. That is invoking energies for a specific purpose, okay? Same thing. She didn't see it as that, but that's exactly what it is. And so, you know, it goes along the lines of what makes you a witch is what's in your heart. If you have a connection to the craft, to others who practice the craft, if it is something that is really meaningful to you, not just something you're curious about, dabbling about, that's what makes you a witch. That active engagement in the practice of the craft and in living the craft on a day-to-day basis, whether you're utilizing tools or not. That is what makes you a witch, in my opinion. So that's my spiel on that. I would love to see your comments, even if you disagree. I think we learn a lot from each other in terms of our definitions. But for my purposes and my frame of reference, that is how I define what being a witch is to me and what makes me a witch. So thank you again so much for watching. I do want to take a moment here to just give out our condolences to the families of Aidan McCoy and Raven Gramassi. It's very sad that we've lost so many wonderful authors in the recent years. We've lost Dr. Buckland. I think it's been 2 years now that Dr. Buckland has passed. It may have been just one. We lost DJ Conway. Now we've lost Aidan McCoy and Raven Gramassi within like a week of each other. And so, you know, our condolences from Witches of the Moon to those families and to their friends. It's a huge loss for the community both ways. So, and Ms. McCoy was a fellow Texan, for those of you that may not know. She was from San Antonio, where I am from. She was self-initiated in 1981, and in 1983 she was initiated into a large coven in San Antonio. And she is also a graduate of, excuse me, the University of Texas. So, so our condolences go out to their families and friends for that loss. Don't know what else to say about that, except we hope they fly with the goddess. So thank you so much, and y'all have a wonderful week.